This is Bowie from his Thin White Duke phase. He's coming off of The Man Who Fell to Earth. This is his big heroin and cocaine period, where he winds up at the Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles, and he's into Crowley and black magic, and does Station to Station. And I don't know where this is. Probably London. So there's Bowie. He looks like he's totally smacked out, and he's got Liz Taylor right up against him, and she's still very attractive, and she's starting to put on a little bit of weight right around this point in time. She's wearing his hat, and he's smoking a cigarette, and she's putting the cigarette in his mouth. It's almost like she's, letting him puff and pulling the cigarette out, and it's a very odd picture. Some people said that she's was his handler at this point. Could be. Anyway, I bring this up because I just wanted to share the picture, right? I've always enjoyed Bowie's music and sort of this strange manifestation of his character. I got 52, 53, 54 likes and 5 shares. And that's just from a picture. Now, I will do a podcast or I will write a post, and I may get 15 likes and maybe 2 shares. And I'm not saying that because I want more people to like it or share it. It's just interesting, what is transmittable and what people find to be valuable on the internet or on Facebook, at the very least. It was just a notice. Just a notice. Okay, so you're listening to the Friday FARcast. I'm Robert Phoenix. It is about 12:48 here in South Central Texas. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, in addition to everything that I've already talked about, was this whole notion of truth. And I'm thinking about putting up a post on the site because there are things that I think we should be able to discuss and discuss freely and be able to address in ways without fear of reprisal, without fear of condemnation, without fear of censure. I was talking to a Canadian friend of mine last night, and I was talking to him about a guy by the name of Arthur Topham. And Arthur had a press and had a website, and Arthur was staunchly anti-Israel. He was staunchly looking into the power structures of the Jewish culture. That's what Arthur was doing. Okay, and whenever you bring that up, it's like, I mean, it's okay to look at the power structures of, say, the Jesuits? Nobody blinks an eye when you say, the Jesuits, right? Or, you can say, the power structures of the royal family. Oh, nobody blinks an eye about that. Or the power structures of the Medicis and the Italian black families. Nobody blinks an eye about that. Even Freemasonry, the power structure of Freemasonry. Well, how about Prince Hall Masons, or Boulay, which are sort of the black arm of Freemasonry? You could talk about that. But you get into this whole notion, right, of the power structures of a certain group that Arthur was talking about. Now, all of a sudden, people get really uptight. Oh, boy, where's it going? What's going to happen? And it's a really delicate discussion. Very delicate. Because we do not want to single out individuals. There are people in every single group that are good people. Okay? Bottom line, good people. Let's get that right on the table and clear. It is not an indictment of everybody. But what Arthur was doing is he was using the power of the press to uncover things that he believed were important and needed to be looked at. But because Canada had passed anti-hate speech laws, Arthur was arrested. And I don't agree with everything Arthur wrote. In fact, I didn't even spend a lot of time on his website. You know, I mean, I knew about him. I knew about his plight. He was arrested, went to trial, was found guilty. He had to remove all of his books. Can't sell them anymore. He had to take his website down. That's done. And he's on some probation. So whatever you think of Arthur, and whatever you think of his life work or his livelihood, that's over. And you may applaud and say, great. Right? But it's over. It's done. That was his life work. And it's been eviscerated. It doesn't exist anymore. And there are people in the Jewish community, he said that's not enough, that he needs to be punished more. Well, you just took away this guy's, whether you agree with him or not, you took away his livelihood and the fulcrum of his being and his publishing arm, in which, guess what? He sold books and was able to derive income. And, so everything was taken away from him. And how much more do you want? How much more do you want when you take away something from somebody so that they're completely divested of whatever it is that they did? What's really interesting, okay, I haven't figured this out yet, but Henry Makow is also Canadian, and he supported Arthur. Henry and I, we communicate, we sent emails, and Henry got on Arthur's side. And Henry, basically said, hey, look, I don't really agree with everything, but I agree with his right to be able to publish, which I agree with. And Henry put out a couple of posts and, wanted people to send him to his defense fund so he could afford a lawyer. And Henry's content is not that dissimilar than Arthur's. And yet Henry can continue to have his website. I don't understand this. I mean, I have some ideas, but I'm not going to get into them. It's just an interesting notice. But that guy's livelihood, that guy's truth, that guy's studies, gone. It's just gone. Now, I put something up on Facebook yesterday that the Anti-Defamation League is basically going to start a fusion center in Silicon Valley. And they're going to go after hate thought or hate crime or hate speech. Like, they're getting invested in it. And you have to ask yourself why. Why are they getting invested in it? Well, it's because people are waking the fuck up. That's why. Pardon me, I don't like to say F word, but they're waking up. We're waking up across the board. This is the Saturn and Sagittarius effect. We're waking up across the board. And if you start to wake up in a big way, the scales of illusion begin to fall away from everything. And you begin to realize how rigged reality is. You begin to look at the lies that we've been sold across the board. Across the board. And they don't want that. Because you're not controllable at that point. They're doing their very best to bury history, or rewrite it, or condemn it, so that some nebulous, identity-based political reality becomes the emergent reality, the one that we're all swimming in. So we have to be able to address these things and to be able to address them fearlessly. And it's tough. I mean, we saw what happened in the Trump election. I mean, this is just for voting for somebody that you wanted to vote for because you didn't like the other person. You didn't like the politics that the other person was espousing. But if you brought it up, you were going to lose a friend member. You're going to lose a friend, a family member. maybe a relationship. There were marriages that got split up by this election. And maybe they were already on thin ice anyway. And that this just brought the pickaxe to it. That's a low level. That's a really low level of discussion or position or opinion. That's just a lucky number. Now, I know he's a cipher and he's supposed to stand for certain things. So in that case, yeah, it's more than just an election. He's a symbol for all of those things. I get that, right? But still, what if you were to drill down and talk about 9/11 to somebody who doesn't want to hear it? Or what if you wanted to talk about the Kennedy assassination? Or what if you wanted to talk about anything else that was verboten? So I want to question this. Well, why? Well, because I'm not sure I believe all the facts. The moon landing. By the way, it's going to be roughly 2 years. 2 years, the moon landing and the moon mission will be found out in 2 years. Okay? Trust me on this. So it's bubbling beneath the surface and has been for a while. Wait till the true node moves into Cancer. When the true node moves into Cancer, this whole piece around the moon and the moon landing is going to come up, and it's going to be floated, and people are going to get really pissed off. Because let's face it, we did not go to the moon. We did. I mean, if we did, we didn't do it that way. I tend to believe that there is a secret space program, and it might have to do more with consciousness and physics versus actual payloads and jet fuel and things like that. So if we went to the moon or we went to anything else beyond the sphere of the firmament, it had nothing to do with these rockets. So that would be a major lie. Then we get, so if that's the case, then all the flat earthers, because the flat earthers are also connected to the no moon landing people. And I don't think the two are mutually exclusive, by the way. But that's going to come up in 2 years when the true node goes into Cancer. All that lunar stuff, all that moon stuff. It's going to spotlight on the moon. And we might even have even more mysteries revealed around the moon. Where are we time-wise? 12:59. I'm not sure how much more I have to say today. I think that's probably about it. I don't want to string it out. I've touched on just about everything I want to talk about. Anything else? I don't think so. Just keep your eyes peeled on what's happening in Syria. It's a kind of a big move. It's a big move that the Trump administration is making, and it's really unfortunate. They can do it at a deceptive level without any real impunity, because we just don't have the War Powers Act anymore. 9/11 and the Patriot Act completely subverted it. Completely. Because we're involved in these internecine conflicts. We're not even really there, theoretically, but we are there. It's like, that's the CIA model. And that's what happened in Angola. That's what happened in Vietnam. That's where it started out in Vietnam, and eventually we were there, right? Syria could be Trump's Vietnam. I hope not. I really hope not. All right, that's it for today's show, today's Friday FARcast. You know the drill. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open what's possible. Have a wonderful weekend as we move steadily towards the sign of Aries, the rebirth in the northern hemisphere, to our good friends down in the southern hemisphere, the beginning of your harvest season, just on the way. And much love to all of you. I'm Robert Phoenix. This has been your Friday FARcast.